Welcome, NoDQ Galaxy, and we are back with another edition of the NoDQ Review. And I am Virtue, being joined by Jexy, Aaron, and Big Vito. Jexy, how's it going?
Good, chilling. Valentine's Day. Nobody else I'd rather spend it with than my NoDQ fam, you three.
Aww.
Ready to rock it out.
Cool, and I see that you have Pete Dunne behind you there on the desk. I like that.
All right, boy. I got you, Virtue. I got you.
That's because we started at 9:01. Aaron, how's it going?
I'm doing wonderful. The NoDQ beanies are selling like hotcakes. They're almost sold out. There's a few left, so if you guys want to pick one up, PayPal $20 to nodqmisc@gmail.com, and we'll see what happens if I make more of them. I think there's definitely the demand for them, so we'll see what happens. We'll see if I decide to make more. I mean, the thing is, a lot of people from other countries are wanting to get beanies, and that's a little tricky because I'm doing all the shipping myself. It's not through Pro Wrestling Tees or anything. I'm doing all the work myself, packaging the beanies and shipping them out. And when you ship internationally, you have to fill out those forms, customs forms. So it's a little tricky, but I might be putting them for sale for everyone around the world so everybody can enjoy the NoDQ beanies. So yeah, doing great. Looking forward to the show today.
Cool, man. And Big Vito, I see you bebopping over there. How's it going?
That's because we got through all the controversy in the NoDQ chat room. Everybody's good. Little Pete Dunne is sitting behind Jexy over there. You know, it's really nice. You know, we got, beanies selling. We got my man Virtue rocking this room here. How many downloads we have? How many views we have last week? Did we have?
It's almost 4,000, and we got over 100 thumbs up.
All right, so we're doing good. The group is doing good. Everybody's doing on the team. Controversy is out. And just to let everybody know, we had a little, pre-team meeting, and we had some beef. Amanda's mom has been feeding us some very fattening pizza bites and rolls, and all this stuff. Listen, when your mom is on the go to the VIP with the BIGV party, you just throw it on a plate. See you Sunday. Talk to you later.
Breach of contract.
Uh-oh.
How's it breach of contract? I could tell you something wrong here, right? Now, me and you, we tight. We down like two flat tires, right? We down, right? Now, you could either play the game, and like you could try to sneak in your mom's suitcase and come along, pop out. I won't throw you out, Or if you become a mom, then you got an invite. So becoming a mom is not really what you want to do. Put yourself in a little duffel bag. You put a little tag on yourself. Hop on the bus with mom. Well, she does come in a limo, but I mean, hop in the trunk. Get out. There's always an extra room at my castle, so you're good.
Okay.
Well, Vito, that's a great introduction. And speaking of moms, I want to bring up the mother of censorship in wrestling, Ivory, is going to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame this year. So let's start off with talking about Ivory. Now, here's the interesting part. When Ivory was part of, the Litas and the Trish Stratuses and the Chynas, I honestly kind of always overlooked her. And I didn't know she was an original member of Glow. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Right.
But when they gave her that gimmick and often, I guess, frowned upon right to censor gimmick, I'll tell you what, Vito, just like you and what WWE gave you creatively, Ivory absolutely owned it. And I'm going to tell you what, that alone, to me, I went back and watched all those clips after I heard that she was announced into the Hall of Fame this year. So, Jexy, I want to start with you. What are your thoughts on Ivory? I know it might, touch you a little bit more because you're a big Chyna supporter, and they had a great match.
Oh, yeah. They had an absolutely fantastic match. I'm more than happy for her. I think it's great. I think she deserves it. I'm not going to throw the little Chyna thing into there. She'll get her spot. I believe that in my heart at some point she'll get it. I myself, when I was 15 years old, had the opportunity to meet Ivory. And when I first walked up to her, she just gave me a super big hug. She was like, "I'm so happy to meet you," and she was just so friendly and so kind. I have nothing but good things to say about her. She was a tremendous talent in the ring. She's definitely on the frontier of the women's division as far as getting us to the point that we're at now. Double thumbs up. I think she deserves it.
Yeah, I mean, we are in a PG era and right to censor. Jexy, what's your thoughts? Do you think when she does her speech, will she mention China? I mean, she did put China over WrestleMania 17.
Yes.
So do you think that she'll give a nice tribute to China? I mean, we've heard Stephanie and Triple H talk about China recently. So
I think it's entirely possible. Now, whether or not she'll single her out individually, I don't know. But I think it's possible. I'm sure she'll give a shout out to most of the women in general, as far as getting us to where we're at now.
Cool. Aaron, thoughts on this? I don't know if you talked about this yet. Have you?
I've talked about it a little bit. I'm happy for her. I think she's definitely a great choice for the Hall of Fame. She was one of the more credible women of that era, in an era where you had a lot of bra and panties matches and mud wrestling. I mean, Ivory was one of the more serious competitors. And like you said, she was probably the standout, other than Steven Richards, in the Right to Censor. And she had a really good run with them. And she had some memorable moments with Fabulous Moolah and Mae Young back in '99. That was a lot of fun and all that stuff. So I'm happy for her, but I'm hoping China does get in. I know we're getting back to China again. I still feel like China should have gone in years ago, and hopefully they give some kind of nod to her. It feels like it's getting closer to something happening with China, the fact that Triple H has referenced her, and it seems like they're starting to open up a little bit more. So I'm hoping China will get in the Hall of Fame within the next year or two. But yeah, for now, I'm very happy Ivory's going in. She definitely deserves it.
And you know what? The whole China thing reminds me of Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, because they took steroids in baseball. But everything they did before that, they were Hall of Famers. China, we know what she did after WWE, but everything she did before that, you can't discredit. So again, I don't want to change the subject to China. So Vito, did you work with Ivory in any way? I'm not sure. Did you ever cross paths with her? What's your thoughts?
I did cross paths with her. I met her a few times. Very nice lady. Does she deserve to go in the Hall of Fame on what she did, ahead of other ladies who definitely deserve it? That's a question, because there are a few other ladies out there who deserve it. Maybe they deserve to be in there before her. As far as her credentials and credibility as a wrestler, yes, she does deserve to go in there. As for Jexy's reference, will she be mentioning China in her speech? She will be allowed to mention her in a speech if WWE gives the okay to not mention her in the speech, because the speeches are written for them. As far as China going in the Hall of Fame, now you made a good point, Virtue. Everything that she did during her WWE run was definitely Hall of Fame worthy. Same can be said for Chris Benoit. Everything he did before in his WWE career is Hall of Fame worthy. Yeah. Now, here's the question. Do you exempt people for their afterlife, after WWE life, and give them credibility? Or do you totally abolish them because they did not live the superstar, super clean, super megastar life, and represent the WWE where they feel okay to put them in? Because if that's the case, there are a number of WWE superstars who are in the WWE, who are in the Hall of Fame, who might not have been Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts after WWE.
Mike Tyson before.
Yeah, but you know what, guys? Nobody's perfect in life, and you shouldn't be judged on what you do after WWE, but what you do during your career. Hey, you should get acknowledged for it. And everybody wants China to go in, but I think it's such a raw subject and touchy subject since the woman passed away that every time Stephanie mentions it or Triple H, it's like a thumbtack. It's a nail that sticks with people. I think that they're going to wait a couple of years before they put her in there, because if they do it now, it's going to look like, oh, she died and they put her in there. If they wait a little bit, the stigma of it won't catch people, won't irritate people, because that's what it's going to do. It's going to irritate people, cause a bunch of dirt sheet stuff, podcast stuff. Why didn't you do this? It's going to put a red flag, and the WWE doesn't need any more red flags. And they're going to be smart and do it politically correct, wait a couple of years, then nominate her. But they're not just going to nominate her. They're going to showcase her.
Yep.
and
As they should.
Make good on it.
Yeah. Well, transitioning from Ivory to another diva. We didn't talk about this last week, but I want to bring it up because some more stuff has come out. Corey Graves. And yeah, I said diva because to me, he just seems like he could be very unprofessional. Like, Vito, I want to start with you on this because you've been in WWE. You know how the politics work. Corey Graves seems like what's the word I'm looking for? I feel like Vince Russo. Yeah, like he's privileged or he's
smug.
Yeah.
Smug.
So the Booker T situation. It looked legit at first. We got some news that it was a work. Who said that, Aaron? Was that Booker T? Like, yeah. Is this a work or a shoot? And let's be honest, I really think that Booker just backtracked, maybe because of the corporate policy, and he said that. But I want to see something out of this. Why can't we get, if there is real life beef, and even if we're being worked, they could have something gold with this Booker T and Graves thing, but they just don't want to do anything creatively. They want to be PG, no controversy. Vito, what's your thoughts on that? I know we're a little bit late discussing this, but we forgot to last week.
No, it's a good subject to bring up, and I know both of them personally. I know Booker T longer than I know Corey Graves. Corey Graves, when I met him on the NWE tours. He's a nice kid. He got a break in NXT, hurt himself. They gave him a job as an announcer. He came a long way as an announcer. Okay, and he's not bad on the mic. Some people like him, some people don't like him, and then you become, think you have a voice and you could, deliver your own swag. In the WWE, politics plays a very big role in what you do, how you handle yourself, and what you can and can't do. Rumor has it that, he is one of the Triple H's boys, so he does have a few other privileges and he does have a little more leeway in what he does. Now, Booker T, I know him since WCW. I actually know Booker T since 1992 in our first Japan tour in NoDQ.
Yeah.
And I know him that long. And then when I came to WCW, we were already boys, and then we were in programs, and then we were on tour. And then, so I know Booker a long time. And, he's a man's man. He doesn't bullshit. He doesn't play. You know what I mean? And I could tell you, he's a man of who wants, if he's going to give you respect, he wants respect. And when you go on TV, you could tell the comments that were made, that was not a work. That was a shoot. I mean, he was talking. Booker T didn't like it. You know what I mean? And it kept going and going. Then came out, let's say, okay, I wasn't there in the back, but you could tell it got heated in the back, and I know Booker, he spoke his mind. So when you speak your mind, sometimes people don't like it. So when they took him off the show, for whatever reason, then it was assumed that, okay, there really is some heat. When he came up, when he says, I'm not going to do anything to lose my job, but if I see you on the street, I'm going to catch you. All right, and then that got around. I'm sure either it was a work where everybody ha-ha, or he got the phone call. Listen, you got to work here. You got to make peace. You can't have this stuff. You got to play nice. You got to do everything. Corey Graves probably called him behind the scenes. Said, listen, I apologize. I didn't mean anything by it. I squashed it. Now everybody's having a laugh. It's a work. And that's how it worked, fellas. You know what I mean? Booker T is an up straight guy who wants respect. It's just like we talked about last week with that guy who kept calling him GI bro, and he got irritated. That's the kind of irritation he got. He wanted to kick the guy's ass. So, guys, don't believe everything you read in the dirt sheets and be logical. And if you know the people, look at real life and look at people's reactions and read people's faces. You could tell when it's work and when it's a shoot. And that was not a work. It was total real life drama.
Yeah. And yes, Booker T, basically replaced David Otunga. And so basically became his job. Otunga was out because, personal reasons or whatnot. And then they had to bring Coachman in. So, again, ESPN must be a wreck because it seems like everybody leaves ESPN. But here's the thing, Jexy, I want to ask you this. With Corey Graves being on both shows, entitled, Vito, that was the word I was looking for. Graves it seems like he comes across as entitled.
Okay.
I think there's too much Corey Graves on both shows. Maybe that's just me. What's your thoughts on this whole situation? Is it even a situation? And is there too much Corey Graves?
I mean, at this point, I don't think it really is a situation. I would totally reiterate everything that Vito just said. It was a shoot. You could tell from the banter between them back and forth when they were doing commentary. It's pretty clear that Booker probably did get a phone call saying you need, just calm it down. It's okay. Calm it down. Corey probably did call him. They probably talked about it. And that was that. And now they're going to come out and say, oh, well, it was a work. No, it's not. Do I think that there's too much Corey Graves? Not personally. I don't mind him on commentary. I think he's witty. I think he's funny. He knows what he's talking about. He has already worked in the business, so he has that worker side of the story as well. He works fine with Michael Cole, and he works fine with Coachman. I don't see a problem with it myself. He doesn't bother me.
See, Jaxie, my opinion is the heel commentator is a lost art. JBL couldn't even do it. And JBL had some great heel promos as the corporate cowboy. Corey Graves comes across like a smart instead of being like a Jerry Lawler heel, Jesse Ventura heel. Aaron, what's your thoughts on all this? And am I right? Is the heel commentator a lost art?
I agree with you completely about Corey Graves. I like him, but I don't think he's quite as great as everyone's making him out to be. Maybe he'll get there someday, but I don't think he's there yet personally. And I do feel like it hurts the brand extension when he's on both shows. I'm fine with him being on one show, and I'm even fine with him being just with Michael Cole one-on-one, the two of them. Or, I prefer the two-man color commentary teams to begin with. I'm not a big fan of the three-person commentary teams. And as far as the whole issue with Booker T goes, I mean, at least they gave NoDQ some traffic, so I'm happy about that. I really don't care what's going on with that as long as I'm getting the traffic.
Yeah, and say it's a work, a shoot, whatever. WWE used to capitalize on stuff like that. I don't know what they could do because Booker's past, his in-ring days and Corey can't go. But, man, it just seems like things fizzle out today. I could have seen some type of feud going on there, maybe even if they both got behind a wrestler. But anyway, we'll get Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan going absolutely nowhere instead.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Ronda Rousey. Thank you, Big Vito. Did you have something else to say on that, Vito?
Nope, you guys. Is it too much? Is it too much Corey Graves? I think so, and I think maybe they should have put somebody else there. Either Raw or SmackDown, two different announce team, two different outlooks. Just like if we went and did every show together without no change, and we had this show, like you guys have a bunch of different shows, and you guys have a bunch of different announce teams, which is good. You don't see Big Vito every time. You don't see so-and-so every time. But when you tune in, you get to see your favorite announcer or performer. So that's a show that you like. So I think too much oversaturating the network with Corey Graves, is a little bit too much. Would you rather see Renee Young on more stuff?
I would.
Yeah, she's a good announcer. But they basically keep her on. Is she on Raw or SmackDown now? She's on Raw, and she does the pre-show. So I mean, could she swing back over to SmackDown and do those two? Of course she could. But I think she's got a specialty. They don't oversaturate. And when you see her on the pre-show on Raw, and then her doing her interviews, I think it's good. So that's what I think.
Point, Vito. I agree on that. And Virtue, you were right. This was a good thing to talk about this week because the Booker T, Corey Graves, that podcast was actually over the weekend. So, that there was new information that came out for us to do it this week. But anyways, go ahead with Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, so Vito, you wanted, when we were talking off camera, I was looking for topics this week. Imagine that, 5 hours of WWE, and I needed topics. And you said Ronda Rousey because they're doing a contract, like her WWE contract signing, and they're doing it at the Elimination Chamber. So is this supposed to get UFC fans, Ronda Rousey fans, casual fans to sign up for the free trial of the WWE Network? Possibly. But another interesting point I want to tie into this, Vito, is you also brought up Mayweather and McGregor and how that was a spectacle. You had a fighter and a boxer. And you know what? McGregor held his own in a boxing ring, and it literally was a spectacle. Why can't WWE do that? They used to. So, Aaron, what's your thoughts on Rousey having a contract signing at Elimination Chamber, and the fact that can WWE ever do something as significant as Mayweather, and I almost said Mayweather and McGregor. I mean, it was entertaining. It really was. What's your thoughts?
It's going to be tough to have a match of that magnitude in WWE. Even with the scripted environment, it's still going to take a lot to really get that many people invested in it. I don't think it's possible, quite frankly, because I don't think WWE will ever have that mainstream appeal. As far as Rousey being at Elimination Chamber, I mean, the ticket sales for the pay-per-view are not that strong. There's actually lower bowl seats that are available as of today. You can get lower bowl seats for the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, and that's not a very good sign. I mean, back in the day, the WWE pay-per-views would be sold out weeks in advance. They're hoping that by Ronda being there on the pay-per-view, they can actually have a chance of filling that place up, because it's pretty embarrassing to have this major pay-per-view Elimination Chamber right before WrestleMania and not sell it out. I mean, to me, that's very telling. What do you think?
Well, first of all, they're not going to have a Mayweather McGregor type, like that many eyeballs tuning in. But I'm just saying, like, how that was hyped up with the promos, the tour that they did. Vince McMahon used to hype up his shows. Remember, back in the day, they used to have 4 pay-per-views a year. There was time to hype up the big shows. And they did, their house shows sold out. You had Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior. And, we're going to talk about more of the golden era on another show. But the fact that WWE can't take 2 stars today and make a big deal out of a match anymore, and even WrestleMania, it just doesn't seem like they ever have that match that just feels like a big draw. So, Jexy, what's your thoughts on Rousey? I know we talked about her at the Royal Rumble. The fact that they're using her to try to get eyeballs and people filling the seats at Elimination Chamber.
If you're looking at it from a perspective of bringing in a UFC fan, if it was me where I was a UFC fan, which, I mean, I am, but not as invested into wrestling, I'm not sure that I would sign up for the network just to watch her sign her contract. I would probably just watch the next night on Raw when they replay it anyway and see what happens. There's not really enough build-up to it yet. There's nowhere going to who she's going to actually face, if she's even any good in the ring, which I'm going to give her a chance on that. I'm not going to defeat her, give her a chance. But I mean, looking at it that way, that's not going to just make me tune into a pay-per-view as a UFC fan. As far as McGregor and Mayweather, those 2 guys, are such strong characters in and of themselves. They're polarizing figures. They're out there, Conor McGregor's doing his Vince McMahon walk, and he's just like a wrestling character in and of himself. They're cutting promos on each other. They're doing their conferences, and he's looking at Floyd in the most heelish way possible, saying, "Why you got a backpack, bro? We know you can't read." Beautiful. If WWE has to have characters that are on that level to be able to garner that attention to begin with, which right now we really don't have. Yeah, we don't have that larger than life, those huge, just want to see stars that you just want to see crash and blow up, because we're not building storylines. We're just giving it a week later. Okay, you want to see this person? All right, here you go.
Now, they have people like Strowman and Elias, and we can name a lot of others. They don't have the creative to get them over like they used to. Vito, since this is your baby on this topic, go ahead. I mean, what are your thoughts on everything we just discussed?
Well, you guys are forgetting one very important thing. When you talk about they didn't try to do this cross-promotion thing, you guys are forgetting the Tough Man contest, and they brought in Butterbean.
Yeah.
Now, you remember when they did this and they had the Tough Man contest, it drew people to watch because they wanted to see who, and everybody remembers that Steve Williams was supposed to win. He was the toughest, and Bart Gunn wound up winning. And you had some good fights out there, and the boys went at it, and it was a free show. And when you seen Butterbean against Bart Gunn, you actually thought Bart Gunn had a shot, but Butterbean, knocked him out in 1 round. When you talk about these type of guys like Mayweather and McGregor, guys got to remember something. A lot of these guys who were there today, all right, they're not acting like themselves. They're acting like a character. And then when you say they can't be charismatic, These two gentlemen are being themselves because that's the way they are. They're millionaires. They get active. Ain't nobody holding their strack. Ain't nobody talking to them. This is my run, my show. This is the way my ship is running. You don't like it, get off. I don't need you. So these guys are going all out. There's no script. They're going off the top of their head. And if you could talk smack and you could throw hands, or you're playing ball and you could talk smack and you're good and you could back it up, it's going to be even better. So that's where you got that from. You ask why there's no charisma, because how do you get charisma when you have to read a script? Yep. You can't be yourself.
Yeah. I mean, unless you're like one of the world's best actors, that's what it takes.
Yeah, I mean Strowman, he's programmed. He does something, hoorah. He does a slam, hoorah, right? Elias, he's got Elias does his shtick with the thing. Somebody interrupts him. Same thing happens every week. What happens if Elias just keeps singing one week? You heard it here first, WWE. Let Elias keep singing. Let the guy come down to the ring. Don't acknowledge him. He keeps singing. He keeps playing. Guy's entrance music hits, and he keeps on singing. He keeps playing. Now that would twist somebody's balls. Yeah. Yo, man, this is my intro. I don't care. I don't care. Right? So, and as far as Ronda Rousey, guys, now you're trying to bring Ronda Rousey in, and make her a big star and bring her in a big splash. She showed up at the the last pay-per-view as a surprise. Nobody expected it. You're bringing Elimination Chamber. It's supposed to be one of the biggest pay-per-views before WrestleMania. They're having to make an appearance to sign a contract. Now, are they putting her out there to sell the UFC fans? I don't think so. I think they're just using her as Ronda Rousey name, because now you're talking about you have to draw the interest of wrestling fans to watch Ronda Rousey. UFC fans want to see blood, guts, and tears. So that's not a knock on what anybody's saying. It's just a perception out there. They're trying to get people interested. It don't matter if you don't watch anything. If you know Ronda Rousey, say, hey, isn't she going to be on the WWE network? Yeah, she's on that WWE thing with Vince McMahon. They might turn in to see what she's doing. They're trying to get new fans, not necessarily UFC fans, but they're just trying to develop more people to watch. Maybe going into the women's revolution, maybe she'll get those women who are battered and beaten to come up and say, hey, here comes a tough chick. Here's what we got. I'm a Ronda Rousey fan, and I'm going to ride the Ronda Rousey train. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's why I think they're going with that. The fact that they don't sell out these things and there's too many pay-per-views. Now you guys already heard about what they plan to do in the future. Cut the pay-per-views, interact with both brands, cut it down. Less pay-per-views, the better, because if you don't have the network and you got to pay $40 a pay-per-view like we used to, who's going to do it? But if you had 4 pay-per-views a year and you built it up and you made it a spectacular card, now you're talking you'll pay the $40 to see it. So I mean, is it oversaturating the market with too much? Yes. You can't have a 205 Live. You can't have the NXT. Then you have the women. Then you have SmackDown. Then you have Raw. And then you have this, and then you have that. But if you have just one thing, like it used to be, now you gain my interest to put all these great matches on, and it's not something you're watching every day on Monday nights, and it's not something you're watching on SmackDown. It's a mix. So now you know the card's going to be different.
Yeah. Speaking of Elimination Chamber, well put, Vito. Remember we were supposed to find out who the last participant was for the men's Elimination Chamber match? Well, somehow Seth Rollins got to weasel his way into the match. After being a mid-carder, he wants to be a main eventer again. Okay, I get that. They end up having 2 guys win that match. Or now there's 7 guys in a 6-man Elimination Chamber. Aaron.
Yes, sir.
What's your thoughts on this, and especially how they announced that?
Well, I wasn't a big fan of giving away the cliffhanger an hour after the show. When it was over, I was actually talking to a friend of mine, Steve Carrier. He runs ringsidenews.com. Cheap plug. I'll give him a cheap plug because he actually covered the video you guys did a couple of days ago about the trolls on the forums. He posted that on his site.
I was on your live. I called in when you found out that they made that a 7-man.
Yeah, you saw my reaction to that. I mean, Steve and I were talking, and he was messaging me. He was saying, "I love the ending of Raw. They actually did a cliffhanger for once. It's about time." And then, sure enough, as we're doing the live video, bam, they announce it on social media that they're doing the 7-man match. So yeah, I was pretty disappointed with that. I think it was unnecessary. I think WWE trying to get more social media followers. It's not like they even said on Raw, hey, tune into Facebook, Kurt Angle's going to announce something. They could have done that at least. They just did it completely randomly. I don't get it at all. I wasn't a fan of it.
Jexy, what's your thoughts on that? And how are they going to do the extra pod? Or, in my opinion, they should have Rollins and Balor have to share a pod. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what I say all the time. They just cannot resist the urge to give it to us. Can't wait until next week. Got to give it 30 minutes later. There's no just like, let it hang, let it go, let people, guess about it. Because don't you think that it would build up more discussion if you just let it go and let people talk about it and, debate whatever? But unless if they started out where there's 3 people, I don't understand how they wouldn't share a pod. I'd share a pod with Finn and Seth, but
you'd share a pod with the bruiserweight. I know that much.
Oh.
That is true too. But I think it'd be kind of interesting to see that where they kind of cram themselves into it, and if one of them, it was Finn's turn to come out. And he just kind of pushed Seth out and was like, nope, you're going, shuts it and locks it. And he's like, oh, you're out. I mean, I don't know. There's something they can do with it, but it just feels like there's too many people in the match.
I just thought of it. You know what they're probably going to do? They're probably going to start with 3 guys.
That's what I'm thinking, that they're going to have the 3 guys start the match, and it'll go on as a normal match from there. But yeah, Jexy nailed it about, building up with the cliffhanger and giving people something to talk about. I mean, one of the great things about Breaking Bad, one of my favorite shows, was the cliffhangers. Every week there was a big cliffhanger at the end. It got people talking, and that was part of the fun of watching it, the cliffhanger, leaving you wanting to know what's going to happen next and speculate on it and come up with ideas and talk about it. With Raw, I remember back in the 90s, they'd have a big ending on Raw, some sort of cliffhanger, and then people would be talking about it all week, and there would be the anticipation of waiting till next week's Raw to see what the follow-up was. Like, I remember, like, in 97, with the episode where Steve Austin and Bret Hart had their street fight, and Steve Austin was in the ambulance and he attacked Bret Hart. At the end of the show, Brian Pillman jumped Steve Austin, and the whole week I was wondering what's going to happen with Brian Pillman, what's going to be the follow-up with Bret Hart, and that was what made the shows really fun to watch for me, with the cliffhangers and speculating and fantasizing about what the next part of the storyline was going to be. And that's severely lacking today.
It was called the Attitude Era, and there are certain personalities out there, and I won't mention their names, that said the Attitude Era shows suck. How can, and Vito, you probably know who I'm talking about, how can these people think that today's product is better than the Attitude Era? And even the Golden Era, you keep going back, because they had better storylines back then. Because these people that I'm referring to want 15, 20-minute wrestling matches. Vito, so what's your thoughts on 7 people in the Elimination Chamber match and them basically revealing it early?
Well, here we go, guys. They started off Raw the first 50 minutes, and I think I tweeted it. 50 minutes, 2 matches, boring. Oversaturated it. There's no character development. You didn't have enough promos. You didn't get enough people on the TV. You don't need 25-minute matches, guys. It's not, because you're not going to sit there and watch the same thing over and over. Then, with the next hour, they try to cram 50 people in those 2 hours. Nia Jax coming in after the Sasha Banks match, right? Okay, you had to get Nia in. Okay, let's squeeze this in. Nia drops it, and then you already built her up. What happened to attacking Asuka backstage? Why couldn't you do that? Why don't you have Nia Jax just annihilate and then she comes out, you have a knockdown drag out, and then and I said, when the match was over, I said, now that was a good finish, but now you wait till next week. Then I didn't even know till next day, they announced that both of them are going to be in there. We all know too many cooks spoiled the broth. 7 guys in a match, guys. Didn't we just see, what was the last match we saw where we had 5, 6 guys in there? What was the last one? And there was too many guys, and everybody was too busy. And we just talked about it.
Was that Survivor Series?
There you go. And there was too much stuff happening, right? and you saw this, and you saw that, and you saw this, and you saw that, and you saw this. How are you going to have 7 guys in a match, and you're going to try to keep up? It's too many spots, too much stuff. You're oversaturating the product because you're trying to be squeezing things in all in one. And it's too much to follow. And for the people who say the storylines today are better than yesterday, you guys, it's erroneous. You guys don't know what you're talking about. Because I'd rather watch all the big Vito, the Mamalukes interviews and all the segments with the Mamalukes than watch the garbage that's on today, because the Mamalukes were entertaining. Me and Johnny the Bull at the discotheque. Me and Johnny the Bull doing this. Going with disco. Going with left. Having the body bag. The 2 girls where me and Johnny were cooking. We were tied up in the bed. And all of a sudden we got the meatballs and the sauce split. You know what I mean? The time where I just saw all these gifs are coming out on the history thing on Twitter, right? When you see me taking a backdrop in the snow from Crowbar and David Flair. All the stuff you see me doing. That was good stuff. And you know what the best thing was, people? It was colorful. The people were on their feet. It was happy. It was a full arena. It was like to wrestle in full arenas every night, guys. It's pretty special. Yep. And then you look today, and they're draping tops, and they're draping this, and they're draping that, and they can't sell out. Didn't happen in WCW. When WCW was rolling, when I was there, I wrestled in front of on the pay-per-views. Clash of Champions, Bash at the Beach, all those great pay-per-view, Halloween Havoc. They were full.
Yep. And you know a sign of, by the way, I want to bring up Kurt Angle because he came out to the ring. And no sexist talk about Alexa Bliss. Boy, was that quickly gone. You know, just like I thought maybe would happen. Kurt Angle does not look comfortable in the GM role. And I'm thinking it's because of scripted lines. We saw Mick Foley a little bit had some of that issue too, where you could just tell he couldn't believe he was delivering the crap that they gave him. So Kurt Angle's out in the ring. Stephanie McCran, I mean, he's fumbling over words. You know, does Kurt? I mean, I'm concerned. I hope nothing's wrong with Kurt. I just hope that the fact that he just thinks it's crap and he can't remember these stupid lines. But I want everybody's thoughts on Kurt Angle and that spot that he had when he announced that Jason Jordan would miss WrestleMania, and the fans ate it up. Now, are these marks playing into the Jason Jordan being a heel, whiny daddy's boy character, or did they just genuinely not like Jason Jordan and are happy he's missing WrestleMania? Jexy, I want to start with you. Thoughts on that?
I scroll through Twitter quite a bit. The general consensus that I have gotten is that people genuinely just don't care about Jason Jordan. They just don't care. I can't believe that anyone who is truthfully a fan of the industry would actually be happy that he got hurt for real, which what Kurt mentioned. But it's interesting that you, Virtue, brought up something wrong with Kurt. Yeah. Because when he first came out, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, is he sick? Like, is there something wrong with him? Because he has been so off on his game. But at the same time, it does make sense thinking about how scripted what he has to say is. And because it is such a long script and there's so many like points that he's trying to hit and to make, but it's happened so many times that at this point, it really is kind of becoming like a comedy thing where you're just waiting for him to fumble up on what's he going to mess up saying next. Yeah. But he's in a tough position in many different ways. So I'll give him a pass, but I'm just kidding.
He's Kurt freaking Angle. We got to get
fair enough.
Yeah, right.
Vito, I want you to go last on this because I have a question for you. Aaron, any thoughts on Angle fumbling words? They didn't bring up the sexist thing after
Well, I figured that. I figured there was going to be no follow up to that. I mean, that's typical WWE. As far as Angle's promo goes and fumbling over his lines, I mean, I think it's a combination of him just getting older and the script being too long. I mean, I remember back in TNA, when Russo was writing for him, I thought his promo delivery was fantastic. So I think it might just have to do more with him just getting old and having a tough time with the script, and maybe WWE overscripts it too much. I'm guessing, Vito, you might have more insight on this, that Angle's promos in TNA were probably more bullet points and that sort of thing. I just remember Angle's promos in TNA were really strong, like with the Main Event Mafia. I thought Angle did a really great job. So I think it could just be a combination of having too much to memorize and just getting older. That's just how I see it.
Any thoughts on the crowd basically chanting about Jason Jordan not being at WrestleMania?
I think the fans were just reacting the same way they reacted when Steve Austin had the gun to Vince's head and said, "Do you want me to blow Vince's head off?" And everyone was cheering. It's that sort of thing. I don't think they really want to see Jordan miss WrestleMania, and I don't think they want to see anybody get injured like that for real. They're just in the heat of the moment. You know, when you're there in the arena, you're just kind of going with the flow of the show. And when the heel character is missing WrestleMania, at least the guy you feel as a heel, when he's missing WrestleMania, your natural instinct is to cheer that. That's just how I see it.
Well, I think we got a troll crowd, and that's why. Vito, I want to ask you this. Does Kurt have CTE? Does he have something is he blown up? Is there something you see that maybe we don't? Because I just think something does not seem right with him. What do you think? What's your thoughts on that?
As far as medically, I'm not a doctor, so I can't say.
Yeah.
I honestly have to tell you that I think he's so overwhelmed and over-scripted. That's why he fumbles his words. You notice when Roman Reigns, when they tried to script everything word for word, and you could see him forgetting lines and forgetting things. They're trying to get points across, and you know when you have too many points to put out in a 1-minute interview or 1-minute segment, you can't do it.
Yeah.
You know, Kurt Angle's probably fine. He's just overwhelmed with the scripting of the words. And if you take it at that and you watch the way the product is and watch the way the promos come out, don't you notice a lot of guys, kind of like unsure, they look up and then they look back and then they're trying to remember? It's not natural because, like I said, if you let the guys cut the promos and let them show their own charisma when they're cutting them, then you guys know that they're saying it and they probably put it in better words and it'll come across better and everybody will be fine with it.
Yeah.
Like I told you, Big Vito, whether it was ECW, WCW, TNA, the WWE, okay, Vito, these are the points we have. This is what I want you to do.
Yeah.
Okay? He gave me points. I made my points. I said my stuff. Some of the stuff was good. Sometimes I bombed, but 99% of the time everything was good. So everybody was happy with it. A lot of times it was done on one take. That was, Vito, you hit it. Okay, good. One take Jake. We're out of that,
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to ask a question to you guys. What was the injury of Jason Jordan? He had a neck injury, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And he's going to be out 6 to 8 or 1 year?
Well, it was called minimally invasive surgery, and apparently it's not as serious as having the full-blown surgery, which would have put him out for 6 to 8 months. So I think they're just having him off WrestleMania as a precaution, but they haven't really said anything about how long he's going to be out of action. His wife said on social media that it was a minor injury. That's how she described it.
All right.
Kurt Angle's daughter-in-law?
Yeah, Kurt's daughter-in-law. But guys, you got to remember now. You notice, guys, the guys are getting hurt a lot more than what they used to, right? Mm-hmm. And you see a lot of neck injuries, you see a lot of head injuries. Whether you're wrestling with reckless abandon or you're not controlling yourself or you're wrestling too fast, you need to slow down because he does wrestle fast. He tries to get everything in a rush. I'm sorry he got hurt. He's got to, maybe he needs to slow down. As for his career, I think the injury was the best thing for him not to participate in WrestleMania, not because I did not want him to, but because, like I've been saying all along, he's not ready to. And for the push that they're trying to give him and where he's at skill-wise, he's not making and not meshing. So him being hurt is a blessing in disguise because if he gets to WrestleMania and he blows it, they ain't putting you no more WrestleManias. You're done. Yeah. But the way the people were acting and the way it was coming off was so lame and so ugly. And the people's reaction was like, yes, I'm glad he's not. We don't have to watch it no more. I'm glad he's not. They don't want to see it because we don't want to see it. Kurt Angle, you think Kurt Angle wants to be involved in this angle that's so bogus, and you can see it's fake. You know what I mean? It's fake. He's not sincere about it. So, I mean, it's an angle that got overshot that is probably done because of an injury, but it's a blessing for this guy. And I say this, and if his wife is watching, or he's watching, or anybody goes and reports to him, I'll tell you this. I'm sorry you got hurt. I hate to see guys get hurt, but it's a blessing in disguise that maybe you need to repackage and redo stuff, and you already got a taste of what it is in success and the big time. Maybe you're not ready for that, but you've seen the mistakes you made and you heard that. And if you take your schooling seriously, go back to NXT, work on those things, and come back bigger than life and be the biggest star than you ever thought you can be.
Yeah, Vito, it's like it's the reset button. What's everyone's thoughts on Dean Ambrose when he finally comes back? Vito, I'm going to piggyback off you on this. I think his injury was needed because Ambrose needs a total refresher. So, he's out for a while still. But what's everybody's thoughts? Can that injury help Ambrose upon return, or will WWE just bring him back like he left?
I think it was a blessing in disguise because, number one, they were working that guy to death. Yes. And I'm going to tell you, like when in WCW and any company I was in, all right, who wants to work the house shows? Who wants to work 5 days a week? Who wants to work 7 days a week? Who wants to be on the road every day? When you got that mentality and you just want to be on the road, you don't want to be home, you're going to work and work and work. Do the people get tired of seeing it? Does your shtick get a little boring? Does your wrestling get a little predictable and you say, it's not looking Yeah, blessing in disguise with Dean Ambrose. It's good that he got a break. Guy's been a workhorse. He's been an animal. Okay, you can only go up and down on the road so many times. But now when he comes back, how will he come back? Will he come back with a shaved head? Will he have more bulk? Will he be jacked? Will he come in a different role? Will he try to reunite with the Shield? Does he come in as a heel and take out Rollins? Does he go after Reigns? Does he, make his own new group? Does he join the Bullet Club? Does he join whatever? They got a lot of options because he's an established star coming back.
Yep.
Does he show up on SmackDown?
Maybe a free agent. Maybe have a bidding war for him.
Aaron, thoughts on Ambrose and the fact that injuries in general can be a refresher for careers?
Yeah, because I think guys like Chris Jericho are smart. Chris Jericho takes a break and does other things with his time, and unfortunately, a lot of guys in WWE don't have that option to just take the time off, and sometimes the injury is the only way to get time off, so that ends up working out for the best. It gives him a chance to charge his batteries and come back fresh and maybe do something different. Unfortunately, I think he's going to come back exactly the same way as we saw him, with the same exact character. Unfortunately, I'd like to see something different, but I'm not expecting it at this point. But we could talk more about Ambrose and maybe some other guys on next week's show. I know we're running a bit late here. Jexy, any thoughts you had on Ambrose?
It's basically what you guys said. I mean, he was already over in his own right. I think when he comes back, it's going to be hot fire. For sure, people are going to be excited to see him. Does it necessarily mean that he's going to go back to doing the same old thing? Maybe. Maybe not. Probably. But at the same time, like you said, when you see somebody day after day after day, you kind of become numb to it. You don't appreciate it. But then once they take it away, you don't see it so often. And it's more exciting when it does come back.
Great points, everyone. And you know what? It is time for the main event. I've been staring at this for the last 30 minutes. And Jexy, we'll start with you. Ladies first. And I wrote this specific. Is Braun Strowman overexposed? And the reason why I want to say this, is he ready to be the top guy? Now, everybody knows on Raw, we had a spot we were kind of shocked to see. You had Elias doing his gimmick in the middle of the ring, and then the cello gimmick, Strowman singing, and that whole scenario. And we've seen flashes of Strowman being over as a top babyface. We've talked about him not being able to last in main event matches one-on-one, getting blown up, Vito. But WWE needs a top babyface, a top draw, and Vince McMahon's going to have his way. It's going to have to be someone bigger and badder than Roman Reigns, or it's going to be Roman Reigns. So Strowman's the guy, when I'm looking at it, is the only guy they can pick. Jexy, what's your thoughts? Is he overexposed? Are they not booking him right to be a top guy?
I don't think that he's overexposed at all. I think he needs all the exposure that he can get to continue to build his character and to develop that. We talk a lot about not having big guys anymore. Well, you want a big guy, you got him. He's a monster. There's no denying that. Lesnar is hardly around. Kane's not going to really be around. Show's gone. Mark Henry's gone. You need a big guy in there. He's more than capable of filling that role. And I think it's also going to be a factor of something else that we talk about a lot too, is learning on the job. That is something that he is most certainly doing. You can tell from the time that he debuted to the point that he's at now, he's learning and progressing as he's going. He gets better all the time. We see little facets of his personality come out more, whether he's being funny or, going and raging and beating everybody up, throwing stuff, whatever it is. He's developing, and it's always exciting to see what's he going to do next. He's a more than believable champion, and I do think he is absolutely the right person to be leading the show.
See, I want to disagree to an extent. I like Braun, and I've actually tweeted that I want to see him in that spot more than Roman Reigns. But my problem is this. WWE is trying to do that little stone cold magic with him. He was the elf. He was singing karaoke. And here's the thing. He is supposed to be Braun Strowman tipping over semis. And look, I'm just saying, if you're going to get to that point of him doing the funny stuff, book him correctly and let him look at, now when I see him against Lesnar, I'm going to see him in an elf costume. And I'm going to see him with the cello and trying to sing karaoke. And again, I get it. It's sports entertainment. Go ahead. I woke something up. Go ahead.
Well, that's okay. No, just to not really counter your point, but to add to it, does that take away from what he's doing? Not in my eyes, not necessarily. Because when you had Kane, who was the big red machine, this absolute monster, you saw him show his weakness side by taking care of Chyna when she got hurt. He showed that he was capable of showing love and taking care of somebody. And granted, yes, it was years down the line. He also showed that he could be funny when he was back with, I think it was Rock and Hogan.
Yes.
When they did their little skit in the back when he, So I think those different attributes only add more variable to that character to show more depth and to make them more relatable with the fans.
I just don't like gentle giants, and I'm going to use the Big Show as the prime example. Now, I know because he's had a 20-plus year career, and it's, but I'm just sorry because when you have a Strowman, you got to get over as that monster before you start, dancing around and being funny and singing. Vito, what are your thoughts? Now, I did not hate that segment with Elias because anything with Elias I'm going to put over right now, and it was funny. It ended up busting the thing over Elias, the cello. But for some reason, I think that WWE is kind of softening Strowman up. What's your thoughts?
They're making him a clown. They had him dress up as an elf. They had him do this mixed tag thing. They have him do the cello thing. They have him do the running after he lost the match and chasing guys so he could go and slam them. And then on the flip side, you have him lifting a truck, pulling down a Titantron, annihilating people. And which one are you going to go with? I mean, if you're going to go with somebody as your top heel or be the heel, it doesn't mean you have to do babyface things that people will like you. But with Braun Strowman, he hasn't established himself as a top heel to win a title so the people can like him. So he needs that world title for him to be acclaimed as the main man. Then, if he wants to snip off and be funny and wants to have personality, then he can. But how do you justify him being a joker and then going to fight Brock Lesnar? You want to Okay, you said the thing with Elias. I'm going to give you the perfect scenario. You don't say no words. You come down to the ring and you carry that big ass, that big guitar. You get it in there. You look at Elias, and then you go, okay. And you go like this. Elias goes to put down his guitar. Wham, right in the back. He walks to the back of the ring.
Yep.
He walks to the back. Why are you making him play like a fool? They're making him look stupid. You're making him look small when he's supposed to be bigger than life.
Yeah, and even if he came out and he said, he started to sing, but he did it in his Braun voice. You're gonna get these hands, so we can, because that was a great line. I'm gonna give you that. I like that line.
But how could you have the guy be a merch seller and try to get he's trying to be Braun Strowman. He's trying to be a monster. He's trying to be the baddest guy. They want to put him with Lesnar, and then you're trying to make it. He's not a merch guy. You don't see them doing this with Lesnar. You don't see Lesnar selling his merch. That's why Lesnar is in the position that he is. He's a beast. He's the man who comes. He fights at pay-per-views. He shows up things, makes his promo, and he leaves. Braun Strowman, you're having him doing all these ridiculous things, and you're making him a clown. I can't see him take him serious. Would I like to see him just dominate and go? Yeah. Then he could do anything he wants. But until that time, guys, no.
And they got their merch guy to make a clown, and that's Rusev. I mean, Rusev is getting all kinds of merch, and it's selling. You don't need to do that with Braun. I just think, again, Braun to me is overexposed.
But Rusev was already established as a world champion. Rusev has been a multi-champion.
He had the U.S. title, but he made that feel like a world champion.
But he made it bigger than what it was. And you don't give somebody a tank at WrestleMania just because you got a hot wife.
I had someone argue with me saying the only reason why he got a tank at Mania was because he was wrestling John Cena.
I agree on that. I agree on that, actually.
Yeah. No, well, you guys are erroneous.
No, I didn't say that. Someone told me that.
That guy said it. But how do you say that when we were in Las Vegas and Norman Smiley came on one of the pay-per-views and he had all the dancing girls? We wasn't selling the merch. Yeah, the big wiggle, and he's out there doing the Rockettes. So you mean to tell me, like, come on, guys, get your head in the game.
Yeah.
It's like Pete Dunne. We make fun of Pete Dunne, right? Okay. She wears his shirts.
Tangent.
All right. She wears it. She promotes the guy. Guy does his thing, right? But when you see him go into the ring, he doesn't wear his merchandise. He goes to the ring, he wants to be an ass kicker. That's what you do. Big Vito didn't wear Big Vito merchandise. He repped Staten Island, came out, and I just did my thing. I whooped somebody's ass.
Yeah, and they got John Cena to push merchandise. Aaron, so what's your thoughts on Strowman? I know you like that segment.
Well, I think everybody made very valid points. I understand where Vito's coming from because guys like Steve Austin, before he did the segments with Kurt Angle with the hat, and people had mixed feelings on that. I remember back in the day, people thought it was making Austin a clown and that sort of thing. But it was entertaining at the same time. The thing, though, was that Austin had already been doing the Stone Cold gimmick for many years. He was very well established, and at that point, he needed some kind of change. Maybe not the heel turn, but maybe having more of a comedic side was what he needed at that time just to freshen up his character.
What?
So, you couldn't make that argument. What was that? What? And then, Jexy mentioned Kane. Kane started off very dominant and had his run. He was world champion. And then later on, he started doing, the relationship with Tori and the other storylines, doing the comedy with Hogan and Rock. With Strowman, he's starting to show that character. Maybe it's too soon. Maybe he needs more establishment as a monster. But I was definitely very concerned when he came out there with, I believe it's called a double bass, not a guitar. I got called out on that, or a cello. I'm not even sure what it's called exactly. But he came out with the big instrument, and I was really concerned. I thought, oh no, this is going to bomb. This is going to be terrible. This is going to ruin Strowman. But it worked. I thought it was very entertaining. The crowd was into it, and I think it was very critical for Braun Strowman. If there's anything that will cause Vince to change his mind about WrestleMania and Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, that segment could do it. I don't know if it has. I don't know if it will. But that, to me, is a real turning point because it showed that Strowman can do the comedy. Vince tries to get Cena to do the comedy. It has mixed results. Some people love it. Some people hate it. Same thing with Roman Reigns. Well, with Roman Reigns, it's more the comedy just bombs. Nobody likes the Roman Reigns comedy, you know, the suffering succotash and the tater tots and all that
I'll
stuff.
agree with that, Aaron. I want to see Roman as a heel, so I will agree with that.
Yeah, so, but with Strowman, he did the comedy and it clicked. At least for this night, it clicked. I don't know if it's going to click next week. If they try it again, I'm really curious to see if they keep the comedy going or if they put him in another direction. I still don't know what he's doing for WrestleMania. If the rumors are true about him and The Miz, I think that's a total mismatch. So I'm really curious to see what happens. How is Strowman going to lose at Elimination Chamber? Is Kane going to show up and cost him the match? I mean, that's a whole other video. We could talk about that maybe on next week's video.
Yeah. Good points, everyone. And the thing is, I think Strowman, Elias helped. It shows you how big of a star Elias is because he set the table for that segment. And Aaron keeps shaking your head like, oh, Elias is only in that spot.
If anybody's getting overexposed, it's Elias.
Elias is gold, but the fact is they're not booking him that way. And that's just my opinion. And why, Aaron? I'm going to teach you. And Vito might back me up on this. Because he starts just playing a couple riffs on the guitar. He pulls the crowd in. They get into it like, yeah, we're going to listen to some Elias. And then he insults them. And then he says something. He changes. He caters to what they give him, and then they boo him.
Yeah, but that's predictable.
What do you mean it's predictable?
It's the he works the insulting crowd. The town. Oh, this town sucks. Anybody can say that.
Well, what other talent can turn cheers as a heel into boos?
Any guy in that locker room could come out there and start insulting the town.
Dude, we're extending
that's
this.
Why it's called cheap because it's
cheap.
Think
Elias is
it's
a star
cheap. It takes no effort.
You don't think Elias is a star because
I think he's entertaining, but I think you're acting
career
like he's
than
like
Rusev.
The second coming of the next big thing in WWE. Like he's the guy. You're on his nuts more than Vito's.
Guys, put your Kleenexes down, guys. You're throwing tissues at each other.
When Elias becomes a big star, you can just say, like you always have, when I've been right.
All right,
I told you so.
I'll give you credit. You're right about Rusev. You were right about
right.
Rusev. I'm over Rusev now, but people still chant for him. Why, I don't know. Because they're wasting their time. The guy's never going to get that push that people want.
So, Jexy, how was your Valentine's Day?
It was great.
Valentine's Day. This is our Valentine's Day. We're all talking.
Good, I'm glad. Mine was okay. You know, I just wanted to interact a little bit so we get some airtime. So.
Wow.
Well, Vito, you're the one to talk about airtime. You're the one that gets like. If we get Jeff Meacham one of these days, we got to have Vito and Jeff Meacham on a video. That would be the ultimate battle to see who would get the most airtime. That would be very entertaining.
Who?
Oh.
He's the one that's interviewed RVD like 7 times for our channel.
And carried his bags 8.
Oh.
Jeff Meacham, get Vito on Talk Wrestling and get him on there soon.
Yeah, Jeff, bring me on. Let's see your game. Just because you're meeting RVD at the friggin' airport, shit.
We are a very busy bunch, and we got more projects we're working on. So with that said, let's do our plugs. Jexy, I'll start with you.
Okay, again, happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Hope you guys had a good one. Hope you enjoyed the show. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JexyRocks. Pick up a NoDQ shirt. Do it up.
Cool. Aaron?
Well, of course, the NoDQ.com beanies. NoDQMISC@gmail.com is the PayPal account. There's only a couple left. They may be completely gone by the time this video goes up, actually. But if they're sold out, I'm going to probably order more, so stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for your support. There's plenty of NoDQ.com shirts, and check out BigVito.com. Get all Big Vito's merch, and make sure you follow the brand. Follow Vince Russo. Vince Russo has some quality stuff out there. Go check out his stuff. And Vito, your plugs.
I think you just did them all, Aaron.
I did pretty much. Plug them again. Plug them again.
Guys, tissues down. I'm about to speak. It's all right. Calm down.
When your hand goes up, our mouths go shut.
Yeah. Hey, I would like to say happy Valentine's Day to all those moms who didn't make it home on Sunday night. Big heart to you girls. Big heart. All right. You girls were shaking your ass. I loved it all. It was good. And go to BigVito.com. Catch all the latest. I got merch on there. I got Amazon. I got everything happening. Go to Twitter, the Big Vito brand. We could always use the followers. Check out Getting Color with the Russo brand is another great show I'm doing. The Super Ugly Show, you know, that's the Tuesday night guys. They're a pretty cool bunch of guys who just talk smack. All the guys from Long Island. Spilling Tea with Teen Moms. It's Noel. It's my wife Noel.
Spilling the Teen Mom tea.
All right. See, I don't get it right. As my consecutive streak is going, but I knew I got the Valentine's Day gift today, so it was good.
Is it nice?
Yes.
Nice.
All right, guys. But that's about it. You know, I mean, check out the NoDQ hats, shirts. Everybody go buy something. You know, collar and elbow, Big Vito, and that's about it.
All right, man, and that's it. For Jexy, Aaron, and Big Vito, I am Virtue. You can follow me on Twitter at NoDQ_Virtue. This is the NoDQ review, and we will see you next week.